target my selling efforts, and 3, I have a focused customer retention. So how do I do that under each initiative? In better customer management, I do not fix all customers equally, but I start prioritizing initiatives and attempts to grow this segment. So accordingly, the executives I deploy, the salesmen I send, the supports I give for the customers is beautifully reallocated in conjunction with what the value proposition the customer wants. If I do that, what sort of specific action I can do? Top segment customers from whom I am getting a very good support, I will give an increased service for them. There will be improved sales calls, a quick grievance redressal mechanism, and I try to find more value-adding mechanisms. In the case of customers who are depleting my profitability, which is the bottom segment customers, I start looking at how I can service that customer better through a low-cost distribution channels, or try to increase the price by reducing the credit terms because they are really not worthy of that credit, or try to reduce my customer support to them because they are not commensurate with the volumes they are giving and the potential is not high. I start having less than frequent sales personnel deployment, etc. This is a real-time example I am giving you. By this mechanism, the company starts a target of increase in the average profits by 8%, but now because of these initiatives, they say the topmost segment I will target my increase of profitability by 3%, so I have got a focused approach. The next 2 segments I will increase my profitability by 5%, but in the last few segments which are making losses, I am not aiming at profit, but I target a loss reduction of 10%. And if I do even this was done just with a 60% customer base, there is a better chance of success, and this company got a big shift in the average profit per customer. You are seeing there from 0.31 to 0.33 per customer. That was the shift or increase in the profitability at the same level of activity but through better cost management. Initiative number 2, I use the cost information for targeting my selling efforts. Earlier, the company was targeting increase in the customer base by 15%. So based on a normal mix, this would have increased my customer base by 150 and the profits by 0.31 million per new customer. However, with using this cost management information, I start targeting differentially across various segments. This is how now I am using the cost information. By focusing on the different segments, there is a big jump in my profitability from 353 billions to 400 millions because of my judiciously planned targeting efforts. Initiative number 3, I start focusing on customer retention. Should I retain my customer in the top segment giving maximum profit? Yes, every effort should be there to retain that customers. Should I retain the customer at the bottommost segment who is giving me losses in the 10th of that percentile? Why should I? If my competitor is going to say, I will take away this customer, I would like to give that customer to the competitor. Please start serving him. So the retention efforts of customer, the general manager marketing or the head of marketing, he uses the cost management information and starts focusing on the retention efforts. This particular company loses customers every year, expected to lose 10% of the customers. Earlier, they were thinking there will be uniform erosion across all segments and accordingly loss of profit was computed. But now, with this cost information, they start selectively deploying of customer retention efforts. Lose less of the topmost customer segments, but allow the bottommost loss-making customers to be served by the competitors, and doesn't matter, you lose them to a competitor. If you do that, there is a big shift in terms of profitability from 276, which is uniform growth, and now I go for a selective growth to find the last column. There is again a jump in my profitability for the same volume from 276 to 301. So what is it basically have done? There is a skew in the customer profitability and depends on how customer-centric the organization is. If my cost management system is able to make me understand the customer profitability, And if that happens, then what I am doing is, my competitive strategy is to be customer centric. I am focusing on my customers in a perfect structured way, and for that, the cost management architecture has very seamlessly integrated by creating customer clusters, and for that clusters they are giving me the picture on cost of serving those customers. And this information, the ownership has changed. The cost accountant is not the user of this information. The manager or the head of marketing, he uses this information. So this is how the cost management frameworks are now beautifully rising from a level of a clerical compilation to a framework which supports competitive strategies of companies, and that is how the architecture needs to be articulated. So what all I have said is based on practical insights what companies are doing. To the extent you have assimilated, you have got a very good assimilation, means you gain a lot out of this presentation. Otherwise, register these thoughts in your mind and try to look at this presentation in any case which is being left with your organizers for you to use further. So with this few words, I am extremely thankful to the management for having given me an opportunity to be as a part of the IPA in this wonderful afternoon, and I am sure that we will have many more opportunities for us to interact in the days to come, the way in which I am seeing the vision of people like Dr. Hussain and Anil Bhai and others. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Any question you want to ask? No problem.
Multinational kind of organization where the systems are there, and the other sort of organization are safety culture organization.
What is the other?
Safe oriented. There is a one-man show, a family oriented company. No proper delegation of authority, no proper delegation of or sharing of information. So these type of companies do think that the information is an asset for the management, for the top management only. The secrecy, the confidentiality, this culture is very much there. The ownership of the accountant on the strategic information. So how? And there is a case for that also, because they say that these are the business secrets. If they go out, they go in the hands of so many people, definitely they might lose the business. So how do you convince them for this type of culture?
Let me answer the both involved process. A lot of knowledge management mentioned in creating questions and structuring them. They have patented this process, and those who are undergoing the assessment only come to know about this questions. So it is not that way complicated. The second is a very important question, and the answer lies in your question itself actually. These family enterprises, for whom the formula of success earlier from era, they are coming for a very long time. This is true of all our South Asian nations. There's no exception. It's there only in one. Everywhere it is there. But these companies come from an era. It can be a single family owned or two or three people owned. From an era where they got assured business because of their connections. They are well connected to certain organizations. It is nothing is dependent on a formula of managing the enterprise or looking at strategies and all that. So the way in which things are now happening, whether it is in we are definitely seeing this in India, even the smallest micro level entrepreneur, even a restaurant is going in for ISO 9000. That sort of changes are now being driven. So the day the family run business starts thinking that the business formula is not anymore my connections with the people in power, or my connections with this man, or I pay speed money and get my business. That is not the way I do business, but it is real hardcore business efficiency, strategy, planning yourself. The day in which his business changes like that, automatically he will come for all this information. Till that time, any amount of your tutoring him or advocating him will not work. It will be only academic and theoretical for him. This business model, when it changes to a competitive model, then you will need all this. That will not happen overnight. It is sector by sector. You can feel this happening. For example, in India, it first happened in automobile, because area where it was opened first and started getting competition. Next, the white goods. Where it is not happening at all in India right now is in those areas where the public services are not thrown open for competition. Like for example, supply of water, supply of electricity. These areas still the government is holding back, or few public sectors holding back. There this is not happening. Where the real competition has come in and where even the smallest firm has to be very active and agile, then this changes me. Till then, I agree with you.
Thank you, sir. That was a very enlightening and informative session. With this, we conclude the seminar. I hope you have learned from it as much as I did. It is only rarely possible that you get to hear such speakers such as Mr. A. N. Raman speak. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Shabi Hadar to present his note of gratitude.
On behalf of IB and on behalf of the finance staff of IB, I'm really grateful to Mr. Alok who gave us his valuable time to share his knowledge with our students. And I'm definitely very thankful for this value addition in the knowledge base of our students. I'm also thankful for all the guests that have come in. This is the honorable speaker. And lastly but not least, I'm thankful to all my students and my team members for doing this. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Mr. Azhar Sen and Munib Hasan Khalid to present the flag to Mr. A. N. Raman. Thank you all for coming here today and listening to Mr. A. N. Raman.
Thank you.